What is up, party people? It is Josh or Brit Edit.
And I'm Barrett Digital, or Dalton. This is great. I love this. Is this our new permanent sign-on? What is up, party people? Is that it?
Oh, absolutely.
Gotcha. All right, no, cool. I'm down with that.
This is the partation where all we do is sit at home and watch bad comic book movies and bad B movies.
Right. Well, that's what we do. That's what we do.
We broke the mold a little bit today, though.
We're introducing an entirely new thing, which is exciting. I like new things. And what we're doing is we are calling this the Retro Review. And today we watched 2 episodes of Spider-Man the Animated Series from the 90s. I think it's just called Spider-Man, right? They didn't tag on the
Yeah, it was just Spider-Man, but I think it's since gone on. Like, people call it the 90s series or Spider-Man the Animated Series. There's like 15 of them.
They call it the best Spider-Man series, is what it's referred to as.
Iconic.
And so we decided to go back and watch the original, with all this talk of Spider-Verse stuff, right? With all this talk of Tobey and Andrew coming back and all that's going on, we decided to go back and watch the original Spider-Verse, which is the last 2 episodes of the 90s Spider-Man series, Spider-Wars, which kind of spanned across the multiverse and stuff. So it was a 2-parter. It's on Disney Plus if you want to check it out, and then come back and watch this or listen to this, whatever you're doing. Or if you just want to hear us talk about it because you don't care, that's also fine. But whatever you do, make sure that you watch this. I guess we can start with a rundown of the Spider-Men who were involved, and I'm looking on the wiki for that page, and it's just got them credited as Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Scarlet Spider, Spider-Man, 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 Madam Web, and the Beyonder. So that's it's great.
Well, yeah. So like Don said, this was the last ever aired episode. They technically did a series 4. The screenwriter just put out the scripts that they had so that people could make it up in their minds,
Which makes sense. It does end on kind of a cliffhanger, but I guess we'll get there eventually.
But yeah, we're not gonna start the end. This isn't a Christopher Nolan movie.
Right, this is not Pulp Fiction.
So we enter the episode, and Peter is brought to this new world of chaos by the Beyonder. A person who, if you haven't watched the previous episode, you probably have no clue who he is.
Right.
All you really need to know is he's an interdimensional being who can take people to other realities.
Yeah, this show kind of went off the rails in its 3rd season.
Yeah, it was weird watching it after starting it recently, because the first few episodes just kind of like, oh no, Mary Jane's gonna get kidnapped by her ex-boyfriend, and then the final episode is literally, we need to stop this man from destroying all of reality.
Right. Like we said, off the rails, for sure. But kind of context leading up to this, I don't know if you were going to go into this or not, but context leading up to this was Secret Wars, but it's only Spider-Man. But I'm pretty sure the rest of the Avengers came up, but Spider-Man, it was focused by Spider-Man. I don't know, it's really confusing, especially if you go into this episode without seeing any of the rest of it. You're totally lost.
Yeah, there's no before or on the last episode. They just kind of throw you into it. But yeah, so our classic Spider-Man arrives in this new world and he sees New York's in chaos, and the first thing he notices is that J. Jonah Jameson and Robbie are being attacked by both Goblin and Hobgoblin, which was kind of weird because Hobgoblin was voiced by Mark Hamill, and that just flew over my head.
Oh, I didn't even realize he didn't sound. I guess.
That's why I realized, because he sounded just like the Joker.
Okay, all right, no, that makes sense. Is Hobgoblin in that series normally voiced by Mark Hamill?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, neat. The thing that I thought was so funny about that is, it's number one, it's always weird to me when I hear somebody else doing Jonah's voice, because he was voiced in Spectacular Spider-Man by J.K. Simmons, and then Ultimate Spider-Man also by J.K. Simmons. And so it's like, even in cartoons, hearing someone else do that voice always throws me off. But it's also...
Yeah, he's got the weird, hit the stash instead of the mustache.
Right. And they're doing radio transmissions over this absolutely demolished New York, which is comical already because there's nobody listening to the radio. I work in radio, I promise. Everyone's dead. But also, the Daily Bugle in this world is a newspaper,
Well,
and
well, no, this is they made it into a radio station called J3,
okay, okay, that's kind of
which
clever.
they're sending out. I think they're trying to get the National Guard, which that's funny to me because when they show New York, it is literally just a pile of rubble,
I mean, it's
and
nothing.
you think that the National Guard would probably notice by now.
And is this like a localized to New York thing, or
Yeah, like you think they wouldn't be able to get it out to like Washington to get the government involved in
right?
this.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was weird. Yeah. So Spider-Man flies in. He rescues Robbie, who's just been thrown out of a window, and the
right.
first thing Robbie does, in thanks for this, is he tries to punch Spider-Man.
Because there's
And he finds out that Hobgoblin and Goblin were sent there by Spider-Man.
right, and so it kind of shows that there's this evil Spider-Man in this universe, and at this time we don't know what he looks like, but we find out later in the episode, and I did want to talk about this, that he is Spider Carnage, which I think is really neat, and I want to talk about that more when we get there. But we find out
Well,
that
that's kind of the next thing. He chases them off, and then Spider Carnage catches him out of nowhere.
right, and so we see Spider Carnage, which number one is a great idea, and I think if they do bring Venom into the MCU, that's absolutely something they could do, instead of doing Venom Spider-Man, since Venom in this world is the protagonist, right? If they bring in Tom Hardy's Venom, since he's a good guy, have the Carnage symbiote attached to Peter, and now you've got that same story. But it's clear that this is a different Spider-Man. So when Robbie sees Peter and he tries to punch him, and then he starts cussing him out or whatever because he's a different, because he's the evil Spider-Man. Wouldn't he know? Like, wouldn't you think that he would see that this is not the same Spider-Man? Because it's very clear. He's like 4 feet shorter, and he's not wrapped in a Carnage symbiote, and he's not even wearing the same costume. That one really threw me for a loop.
This is the recurring like theme over this because spoilers for the rest of the episode. Basically, Spider Carnage eventually goes to other realities, and he's like, "I'm going to be the Spider-Man at this reality," and you're just kind of thinking. People are going to catch on because like you've got an alien wrapped around you. Your face is all like a massive black mouth. You sound absolutely insane.
Well, that was another thing that got me because the voice comes over the radio transmission, and our Peter says, "That sure does sound like me." And I'm just thinking, no, it doesn't. Like if it was a completely different voice actor, I wouldn't be surprised. So it's like it just doesn't.
It's so weird. But then so Spider Carnage faces our Peter Parker, and our Peter Parker disappears. He gets teleported to the Madam Web dimension, and he sees for the first time our Spider-Verse.
No, it's the same dimension because there's all the rubble around her building. She just has a little tiny shop named Madam Web.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, no, it's not a different dimension. It's the same dimension. She's just got a little Madam Web shop in that version of New York.
But yeah, he sees the new Spider-Man that he's meant to be partnered with, and it's like when you think Spider-Verse or Spider-Man, you think drastically different versions, right? Maybe that's because of the Spider-Geddon comic or the actual Spider-Verse film, and you think, oh, there's Miles Morales, there's Gwen Stacy, there's all these million Spider-Man 2099, but no, the 5 Spider-Men in this reality are. You've got one Spider-Man who has Doc Ock arms for no reason. He just says that he stole them off of Doc Ock.
Right, which is cool. I like that. It's literally just a throwaway line. He's like, "Don't worry about these bad boys. They were just a souvenir
I just stole them from my last encounter.
I just murdered Doc Ock and stole his arms." And it's like, okay, no, that's fine. Even though those kind of like mess with your cerebrals or whatever in the context of the show.
I saw that. I was like, wait. Was spectacular. Like, was the Spider-Man story where Doc Ock possesses Spider-Man a thing at this time? They just gloss over that. He's kind of inconsequential to the episode. You see another Spider-Man who we don't know anything about him. He's a mystery.
I don't want to gloss over this. I don't want to gloss over this. Every other Spider-Man is not important in this episode. None of them matter, except for our main Peter and Spider Carnage. None of them matter.
No, but. You see this other one who has no powers and no abilities, and he just says this, and everyone goes, "Oh, okay," and they just move on with their
They just say,
lives.
"Oh, so you're useless," and then just ignore the guy. Which is,
Yeah, then you got like Mutant Spider-Man, which is something that we see in the animated series.
right. So it's like, and I get what they were doing. This predates any of the other Spider-Verse stuff we got. I mean, this was the first time we ever saw something like this. So it makes sense that they didn't really have the ideas there yet. And I get they were just trying to make him different. But the one without powers, I want to talk about him for a second because once again, we're just going to spoil the whole episode. So at the end, we find out at the end of the second episode, it's a great Stan Lee cameo. You've probably seen it, but we find out he was a Spider-Man actor from a television series, a live-action television series, which is not real. It was just in another universe, and we find that out at the very end of the episode. And my thinking when I found that out is just, why did the Beyonder collect the actor who plays Spider-Man to come and defeat a real Spider Carnage? Like,
Yeah, because he does one thing in the episode that kind of helps, but
right, but
that is. But at the same time, so okay, so he does one thing that kind of helps because the other Spider-Men are all caught up. But then, literally 30 seconds later, the Beyonder goes, "Oh, I can just get rid of the reason that the other Spider-Men are caught up."
right. Well, it's like it would be because the only actor at that time whose name was being thrown around to play Spider-Man, because this predates Tobey Maguire, would have been Leonardo DiCaprio. So what I want you to imagine is Leonardo DiCaprio coming into this fight against Spider Carnage, and the Beyonder thinking this is a good idea, and then all of the other Spider-Men realize that this is a bad idea, and just say, "Yeah, well, you just stay behind. We got this." The other five are just like, "No, we got that. We can handle it. We don't need you." And then they just leave him there.
You're gonna get hurt. Yeah. But then we meet the Chad, the ultimate Spider-Man. You meet basically Tony Stark Spider-Man,
Which is really
who-
cool. He's
he's a
super
Spider-Man
arrogant.
who, in his reality, he's a multi-billionaire, and in addition to his own spider powers, he creates an armored suit that you've probably seen. It's like the silver metal one, and he uses that to additionally fight crime.
Which is cool. I one of the things that's neat is like in his world, because everybody hates Spider-Man in the main continuity of this series, but in his world,
Literally
everybody.
every version.
Well, yes, but in his world, everybody loves him, and also he doesn't have a secret identity. So Peter Parker is just publicly Spider-Man. So he's literally just Iron Man, which is neat. I mean, he's literally. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
he's even got
he's
lasers
a
in his suit.
complete prick.
What was that?
He's a complete prick.
Oh yes, no, he's the worst out of all of them. He's arrogant and all that kind of stuff. But back to the actual plot of the episode. So the five Spider-Men, they leave behind actor Spider-Man. They leave behind Tobey Maguire, and they go. Not Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, just actual Tobey Maguire. They leave him behind, and they go to fight Spider Carnage.
Yeah. We should say that this universe is Ben Riley's universe.
We forgot to
And
introduce
that
Ben
Ben
Riley.
Riley does feature in the universe, and that Spider Carnage is either his clone or he's Spider Carnage's. It's very unclear, just like the actual comic book.
Right.
But yeah, so they go off. They go to stop Spidey Carnage,
Is
who
she-
they've been told is trying to construct a bomb that will just destroy reality.
And it should be noted he's wearing the classic
hoodie.
classic Scarlet Spider suit, and the other Peter in this universe is wearing the second Ben Riley suit, which is the one with the logo that goes over the shoulders and all that kind of stuff. So that's neat that they did that there, with making this the universe where all that stuff takes place. But continue.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so I just want to make note of one line that our Spider-Man says, and he goes, "This is like a bad comic book plot," which is just my favorite thing that any media does when they reference the stuff it's based on as being awful.
Right, and it's funny because this whole episode is just like a bad comic book plot. Like it's making fun of those, but this episode is just as bad.
But yeah, so they go to stop Spider-Man, who's trying to create a Dr. Doofenshmirtz device.
Well, okay.
And when I said, I literally mean like a wall on the Empire State Building opens up and a giant antenna sticks out of it, and that's
radio antenna.
That's what they're trying to fight against.
It's a radio antenna that somehow opens up a portal to other dimensions, and his big villain plan, because everybody hates him, and he wants to show everybody what it's like to be hated, So his
He's just an
ultimate,
angsty teen.
yeah, he is, and his ultimate plan is just to destroy every
Everyone.
single possible reality. Like you would think you would leave one so that you could stay alive, but no, no, no. He wants to
You
destroy them
think
all.
like, well, you think like you destroy every reality but your one so that you could be king.
Well, but he wants to die. Like he's trying to commit suicide is what he's doing. They don't say that in the episode, but
It's
it's
very very hard.
there's no
But
other
yeah,
explanation.
well, yeah. So then Madam Web says like, "Oh, the Spider-Man that we've been following, you're the leader of this spider group." And obviously, Armored Spider-Man gets really annoyed at this, and he's like, "I should be the leader." And she goes, "No, we did Secret Wars as a test, and we get a little bit of a flashback to that." But I really wanted to see what Armored Spider-Man's Secret War was like. Was it just him seeing everything going on, and being like, "Oh, I'm out of here," and just flying off into space back home?
Well, it's like, probably, but it also doesn't make sense for our. I mean, other than the obvious narrative thing that comes with our Spider-Man being the leader, Ben Riley should absolutely be the leader of this group. Like, there's no
Oh yeah.
reason he shouldn't be. It's his
Especially since
world.
he's like he even finds out, oh, he might be the real Peter Parker, in which case he's just overcome even more adversity and he's gone on to be better.
And then,
There's a lot to this that kind of goes over your head when you start thinking about it for more than 5 seconds.
right. Well, I mean, it's a '90s cartoon, but let's continue. We're going to continue to discuss it as if it's a feature-length film, but it is a '90s cartoon, so keep that in mind.
Right. Yeah. Right. But yeah, so then they go to Wilson Fisk's tower because he's working with Spidey Carnage. Spidey Carnage is lying to him and he's like, "Oh, this is a mind device to control people," even though he has literally destroyed all of New York. There
Right.
is no one left.
New York is dead. The city of New York is dead, and for some reason, Wilson Fisk believes him.
Yeah, and so they all go there and they try and get through like the building. I think Doc Ock Spider-Man gets like hit and teleported back into Madam Web's shop.
Right. Well, that's what happens every time one of them gets hit. The Beyonder teleports them back, and the idea behind that is he's only got a limited amount of power left. So that's our ticking clock, and so the 4-armed Spider-Man or 8-armed Spider-Man. I guess it's only 6 arms though, even though he's got 6 arms. He's got 3 on each side. I guess he's got 2 legs, but then that only whatever. Anyway, so
10 arms. He's an octopus, really.
right.
Well, no,
No, that would be 8. That would be 8 if you count his
he's
legs.
a crab man, basically.
Right, exactly. And so he goes full on mutation and turns into an actual man spider. And then our Peter Parker actually physically says out loud, he's turning into a man spider, which just got a chuckle out of me.
Yeah, I will say that the man spider like image haunts my dreams to this day. It is one of the most terrifying things that I could ever think of.
You are absolutely correct. And so then we go through a process of all of the Spider-Man getting beat up and the Beyonder teleporting them back to the Madam Web shop, the little the little
Madam Web's
knitting
little
shop.
shop covers.
Right. And then after that goes on for a few minutes, and the actor Spider-Man goes in to save the day and starts throwing some bombs at Man Spider. That's finally when the Beyonder says, "Oh yeah, I can totally just teleport the Man Spider out of there, and we'll be fine." But he uses the last bit of his power to do that after teleporting like 3 Spider-Men out of the building, whereas he could have just teleported Man Spider to begin with, which would have been the smart thing to do.
I also just want to make a note. So they get Man Spider out of there, and powerless actor Spider-Man starts to try and disarm the device or whatever, right? And Carnage shoots a web out to him, and the web just kind of latches around him. And immediately, without missing a beat, Madam Web goes, "We've lost it all!"
Right.
And she just has zero faith in any of these men.
Well, because why is that the one she's put her faith into? Why is he there? He has no right to be there. He's an actor. That's it. Why did he agree to go? Did the Beyonder just kidnap him, or did he say, "No, I want to be part of this. I'm going to fight for the multiverse"? Did Leonardo DiCaprio look at the Beyonder when he told him the situation and say, "You know what? Count me in because this is important and I want to be there to make sure that the universe isn't destroyed"? Or did he say, "I'm young Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't have to do this"? Like, what went on?
How great would it be if he just accidentally teleported him, and he just had to act like he meant to do it all along because
Right.
he didn't want to refuse.
He just
He
saw,
sees that there's an active spider, and you just see him in the back going, "Oh crap, I've done it again."
he just saw somebody in a Spider-Man suit in another universe and just teleported him anyway. That's
That's
the
probably
most
not half the
baffling.
truth.
That's the most baffling part to me is the fact that this actor Spider-Man is there. Like that doesn't make any
Everything
sense.
else you could at least have a reason or rationality for. That's the only thing that's solely there to just get Stanley a cameo in the end, which isn't a bad thing at
Right.
all.
Well, but they could have also just after
Giving
the whole
Stanley a cameo.
well, they could have just teleported Spider-Man to the dimension where he's a comic book character. Like that you don't have to put in that there's an actor playing him on TV. Like that's not important. Unless you wanted to get a cameo from like a Tobey Maguire or whatever, but that wasn't a thing yet. So it's like is this important? Is this needed? And does it narratively make any sense? No, it doesn't. But anyway,
It's fun.
back to the plot.
But yeah, so basically they close down the portal so that the bomb isn't going to go into these other dimensions. Spider Carnage escapes into another dimension, and they check the bomb, and it has 3 seconds left. The bomb goes off, and we open our eyes, and we're all back in Madam Web's shop. All the Spider-Men and Kingpin. So I guess screw Alistair Smythe and the hundreds of henchmen that they just left in this building to die.
They're henchmen. It doesn't matter. Plus,
They-
not to mention all of New York, right? Like this was supposedly a big bomb. It was supposed to destroy the entire multiverse as we speak. So New York is probably
I
just
think they
nuked.
say like, oh, it's just going to destroy the building because we've taken a few wires out.
Oh, okay, no, that makes sense. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so following that, we find out that Carnage has gone into the armored Spider-Man's reality, and he's going to just do the same thing, but there.
And this is the end of the first episode. Like
Well, the end
that's-
of the first episode is them fighting Man Spider. This is just the episode's just kind of everything happens in like 30-second increments.
right.
It all just goes straight through.
None of it. Yeah. Okay. I thought the end of the first episode was earlier on, but okay. So we go into the armored Spider-Man's dimension, where he is married to Gwen Stacy. And
Yes.
I did want to make note of this because our Peter goes in and Gwen Stacy thinks that it's her Peter and starts kissing him, and then and just says, "Oh, I like you're using the retro costume. Like that's neat. That's they're about to honor him, give him the key to the city or whatever." Why didn't he in that moment say, "Hey, Gwen Stacy, I don't know who you are because I'm not your Peter Parker. I'm from another dimension. I have to go stop this guy who's about to blow up the entire multiverse as we speak." You would think she would be like, "Oh, okay, no, that makes sense." But instead, what he does is he just keeps trying to avoid everyone.
Well, no. What he does is, I made special note of this. What he does is he sees that Mary Jane is a thing.
Yes, I was getting there.
If you don't know that the whole, I think, last few episodes, like last 10 or 20 episodes, Mary Jane's lost. She's gone kidnapped, cloned, she disappears, and he doesn't know where she is. So he spent the last long time just looking for her, and he sees this universe's version of Mary Jane, and he runs over to her, he's like, "I love you," and he starts hugging and kissing her as if this isn't a completely separate reality
And-
where he already knows his version of Spider-Man has a fiance.
And he's smart enough to know that this is not his Mary Jane. Like, he's smart
Yeah,
enough to
and-
know that if there are 5 Peter Parkers, 6 Peter Parkers, that that this is not his Mary Jane. Like, why? And he just goes up to her and starts, like, saying that, and she's like, dude, I have no idea who you are. And it's...
Literally no clue.
That's what she says. She's like, I don't know who you are. And then Gwen Stacy comes in and is all mad, and then she just forgets about it like 2 seconds later. And then Spider-Man escapes because Wilson Fisk is his lawyer in this universe. And so he escapes.
And J. Jonah Jameson is his godfather.
Right, for some reason, right, Godfather, which is weird enough as on its own because but we don't. He's engaged. We don't see him with any children. So either Uncle Ben and Aunt May made J. Jonah Jameson adult Peter Parker's godfather, or he's got a kid running around and he made Jonah his child's godfather. That's the implication there. One of those two.
It's very strange. But yeah, so Kingpin whisks him off and he's like, "Oh, I need to speak to him about some legal troubles," and then he just shoves him into a wall.
He fisk him off.
But yeah, so he sends off and he's like, "Carnage and I have partnered up. he's gonna give me the key to the city or whatever. And literally everyone keeps on trying to tell him this man is covered in an alien skin, and you believe him and everything he says.
He looks absolutely insane. He's the most evil-looking
He
dude.
looks and sounds insane.
He's the most evil-looking dude I've ever seen in my life. He looks like if somebody ran Spider-Man through a blender and turned him into a horror movie villain from the 80s, and yet, for some reason, Fisk still believes him. Until
Fisk just isn't going, oh, he's going to give me everything I want. It doesn't matter. Everything he says is just a constant snarl.
right, and then
I trust him with my life.
what was the line that Spider Carnage said that made Fisk rethink the whole thing? Because there was like one thing that he said, and it was like we're gonna destroy the universe or whatever, which could just be like if Fisk is already signed on to do this, like it makes like it wasn't all that shocking of a thing. But anyway, Gwen Stacy comes in because she has some sort of scanner that can pick up Peter Parker's heartbeats somehow.
So her, Peter, and herself have scanners that can track each other's heartbeat, which seems a bit stalkerish.
Well, it's just a precursor to TASM 2, Gwen and Peter, where they are real stalkerish. But so well, let's put that aside. And so she notices on her thing that there are two Peter Parker heartbeats. And instead of just thinking it's malfunctioning, she goes to the room where the second heartbeat is because
And
Spider
she's like,
Carnage.
oh, I realize that you're not my Peter.
Spider Carnage is posing as the real Peter Parker, and he's on stage giving this speech in his full Spider Carnage outfit, and he looks like an alien, and he sounds like an alien, and people are believing it for some reason. And so she comes in and she rescues our Peter, and then a brawl breaks out at this Key to the City event. And Spider-Man and Spider-Carnage start fighting. That's when Fisk turns on Spider-Carnage, and then they go to a rooftop somewhere.
Well, no. So what happens is Spider-Carnage steals Gwen Stacy, and he's
Got
just like, okay, I'm just going to do this again on another rooftop. And so Spider-Man tries to track him down, and while he's doing it, he's like, I need to use my head. And then so he gets there, and I will admit that this part is probably one of my favorite Spider-Man moments. So he gets there, and
Absolutely,
he's
this
like,
is-
I know that there's a Peter Parker inside of you, and he just brings out Ben Parker because in this universe, Uncle Ben survived.
Which makes sense. That was brilliant writing. That really kind of brought. Oh, so had Uncle Ben not died, Peter Parker would have been a successful billionaire instead of a loser who everyone hates. Thanks,
The
Uncle Ben.
worst imaginable.
Right. Thanks, Uncle Ben. And so this genuinely one of my all-time favorite Spider-Man moments, specifically from this series, from what I've seen of it. Uncle Ben comes out and he gives this super heartfelt speech to Spider Carnage, and he starts breaking down and in tears or whatever, and he tries to take the symbiote off, and he can't, even though he's done it before. He
Well,
can't.
no,
get it
he's.
off.
I'll be fair. Like that's like the. He can like the symbiote works with him. It's fine, but when you're actively trying to remove it, he says something like it's too painful.
Right. Even though he did it with the Venom symbiote, and it was the same
Yeah,
argument. He could do it again, but it's fine. It's fine. He just needed
Peter
Spider-Man to have
Parker
him
is
out.
just a wimp.
Right. Well, the other Peter helps none. Like, he doesn't help at all to try to get it off. And so then Spider Carnage commits suicide because he realizes the error of his ways. And so he blows himself up or something. He really looks like he transported himself to another dimension, is what
Well,
it.
what they say is oh, he's changed the portal yet again.
Got
And
it.
now anything that gets sucked into it is it's basically just a black hole, and anything that goes into it ceases to exist. And so he tries to get the symbiote off, and he's like, I can't do it. So he commits suicide yet again with the portal, but with himself. And like it's really heartwarming because our piece is like, I failed him again, and Ben Parker's like, no, you did great. Let's go get a beer.
Yeah, that's exactly what he says. It's word for word what they said in this children's cartoon from the 90s.
But yeah, he comforts this Peter Parker, and they have like a big hug. And Ben says like, "I'll miss you, Peter," as if his Peter isn't going to come back in like 30 seconds.
Well, I would have to assume that he told Uncle Ben that he was not his world's Peter. But in that case, then why is he going to miss him? Because he just met him. It's been like 15 minutes since he met this guy.
In context of the show, Pete's like, "Oh, I need to use my brain," and then 30 seconds later, he's there with Uncle Ben. So I can only assume he just picked him up off the street and he's telling him this for maybe 3 minutes when
While
he
they're
gets
flying through the air, Uncle Ben's on the edge of cardiac arrest while they're swinging in to talk to Spider Carnage. And then Uncle Ben, which admittedly I understand it was Spider Carnage doing it, but it still looks just like his nephew Peter, who he raised, watches his nephew commit suicide, turns to his other nephew who's there and says, "It's okay. He made his choice." Which,
It's weird because, like, we're thinking way too much about this. If this Uncle Ben is going to miss this Peter because he has an emotional connection because it looks and sounds and is exactly the same as his actual nephew, surely he
but
would feel
poor.
that same way about the guy who just killed himself in front
Right.
of him.
Right. Well, that one was evil, and this new one's poor, so he feels bad for him. And I guess that's it. I don't know. But then,
It's weird 'cause, like I say, all of this literally everything kind of gets set up and then paid off within 30 seconds of everything happening.
which is something you have to do in
When you've
this.
only got 20 minutes to show your show, like you kind of have to.
But then they waste the next 10 minutes by taking Spider-Man to the
I think
universe.
the real world.
I don't think it's the real. I mean, it is the real world, but it's a different version of our real world.
It's a real world where superheroes don't actually exist.
Right, superheroes don't actually exist, and it's still cartoon, but there was a Spider-Man TV show going on, and there wasn't a Spider-Man TV show going on while they were doing this. So it wasn't the real world as much as it was an alternate version of our world. But anyway, essentially the real world. Stan Lee's there, and he wrote Spider-Man, and actor Spider-Man brings him to this world and introduces him to Stan Lee, and then him and Stan Lee go on a little web swinging adventure, and Stan Lee says something along the lines of, "I've always wanted to go real web swinging," and then they land on a roof, and Spider-Man says, "Well, time to leave," instead of learning more about the guy who created him.
And not only that, he just leaves him on this roof.
He just leaves him on the roof.
Stands as, oh, maybe the Fantastic Four will come and pick me up.
Which was a great line. And then I'm pretty sure, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure Stan Lee curses in this scene. But I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch. I don't want to make that claim without knowing it for certain, but I'm pretty sure he
I
does.
don't remember this.
And then he leaves, and then for some reason they give Madam Web and Peter go searching for the real Mary Jane. And for some reason they give Madam Web the Excelsior line instead of giving it to Stan
Oh,
Lee.
she also says true believers.
Right, that's it. That's what she says. She says, it's come on, true believers, which it's like you could have given that line to Stan Lee.
Stan Lee should just write up another Mary Jane, which would then cause her to exist in
That's what I was-
Spider-Man's universe.
I was going to say, I thought that's what they were doing. Like, I thought that was what they were going to do, because in my mind, this was the series finale, and it was planned that way. I didn't know the whole thing about the alternate whatever. So as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, well, what they're going to do is they're going to have the Stan Lee, like, just write Mary Jane back into continuity, and then Peter will be fine. Peter's just living in a simulation of Stan Lee's creation anyway. And so that's what I assumed they were doing, but that's not what they did.
Yeah, no, what they would have ended up doing, which is, it was weird. They would have taken him to like the 19th century London, where Mary Jane had amnesia and Carnage was Jack the Ripper, and there was just so much to it. Yeah, it's weird to think that they were going to do another season just because, like, at the time, this felt so just monumental in terms of what it was doing. The thing that I can probably most closely compare it to is that one episode of Power Rangers that had every Red Ranger from every series.
It's not the one episode of Power Rangers where they cross over with the Ninja Turtles, because that was the best episode of Power Rangers.
I don't know if I can agree with that.
That may be, and we're going to discuss this on the show as opposed to off air like we should be. That may be, not that episode specifically, but the full first season of that horrible, of Ninja Turtles, The Next Mutation. That may be the next thing we watch. Maybe not the whole season, maybe like the first episode or something, but we're going to watch it.
I was just going to say that this is a cry for help. Please get me out of here.
Well, if you want to know, if the people listening want to know why we're doing this, it's because I hate myself and I continue to watch these horrible, horrible things, but I want to talk about them. Like, I gave Josh a bone here and gave him a good one, but the original discussion for this was actually us watching James Bond Jr. I wanted to do the first 3 episodes of James Bond Jr., and then, which, if you don't know, good for you. But I can only find the first
You've lived a
episode.
good life until this moment.
James Bond Jr. is not streaming anywhere, and I mean anywhere. You can't even like buy it on Amazon Prime. It's not in iTunes. It's nowhere to be found. The only thing you can do is order the box set DVD for like $80. But there are a few episodes streaming on YouTube, specifically the first episode. So I'm probably going to make Josh watch that at some point. But I want to take him down with me. So as miserable as I can make his life, that's what we're doing here. We're going to do good stuff, but we're also going to do bad stuff. And I'm really looking forward more so to the bad stuff than I am the good stuff. But yeah, all in all, would you recommend these two episodes to people to watch? Would you, is this something that you would recommend?
Yeah, I think I would. These are like, so I watched these out of context, which is probably bad because there's quite a bit of setup to it, but these are really fun. Like, they're just pure, unbridled Saturday morning cartoon injected into my veins. Just, like, you don't need to worry about plot lines, you don't need to worry about plot holes. You just turn your brain off and you watch Spider-Man fight the bad guy.
I would say I would recommend this if you were going to watch maybe the whole season in context. Maybe, I don't know where the starting point would be, but picking up with just these two episodes with no context as to what is going on probably isn't the best idea, because they're good, fun episodes, and I agree with you that it is just fun Saturday morning cartoons, but it's also it's not great on its own. It's really not. It just has its own thing. It's fine, but it's a little jumbled, and I think we're kind of spoiled because, or at least I am, because I'm not I am recommending it if you want to watch the whole thing in context. But we're kind of spoiled even with like animation, to where we live in a world where it's so smart. Like even cartoons are so smart. And then this is just kind of, it happens and then they defeat the bad guy. And it's okay. I'm changing my answer. It's worth watching for the one Uncle Ben scene and the Stan Lee cameo. Those two things are worth watching. The rest of it I could give or take. It was neat that this was a precursor to Spider-Verse and kind of inspired that. So I will give it that. But ultimately, I probably wouldn't. Outside of those two scenes, which almost make it worth watching, I don't know. I'm really. This is a really tough one to answer for me, because I did have fun and I do love Spider-Man, but just kind of all in all, it's a bit lackluster. For what would, in my mind, when I'm thinking Spider-Verse, I think of what we've got now, and we've gotten such better Spider-Verse stories since this, that this just kind of falls to the wayside for me.
Okay, well here's my ultimate answer. Don't just watch these two episodes. Binge watch this entire series over the course of like a weekend.
Okay, yeah, or maybe just this season, maybe just this last season.
Yeah, even just like the last season. I mean when Disney Plus first launched it, this was the first thing I ever watched on it because it holds a good memory in my heart. But just this show in general is fantastic. It's pure Spider-Man. You know, it's got the quips, it's got the highs, the lows, the fights. He doesn't actually punch anyone in this series, from what I remember.
Well,
All he does is like redirect people's punches and webs them.
well, but part of it though is, if you take out your nostalgia for this series, do you still have that same opinion? Do you still hold that same opinion if you remove all nostalgia for this series?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
I watched this. I'm basically I forgot most of it when I started, and so like rewatching it, it was like watching it for the first time, and it was just even like the animation style might be a bit dated depending on what you're used to, especially with sort of something like Spider-Verse where it's quite literally a work of art.
Don't forget the CGI cities. The CGI cities are my favorite part of this series, because every time he's web swinging, it's not like a hand-drawn city. New York is all CGI, and then Spider-Man is hand-drawn, which is, it's cool to see that early thing. The first thing I watched when Disney Plus launched was I watched the first few episodes of X-Men, the animated series, which I grew up with. That was my favorite as a kid, and it just, the theme song held up, but the rest of the series did not really hold up.
I That was the second thing I watched in Disney Plus.
We'll talk about that another time. We may do an episode on that. But all in all, I would recommend this for a few scenes. But there's some stuff you kind of have to push through. There's some stuff that's sort of dated in its storytelling and stuff. And
You have to get into it with the mindset of this was kind of the first mass exposure that Spider-Man got.
I wouldn't say that at all. Spider-Man's been the most profitable superhero of all time for like 30 years, Josh.
People weren't going to watch the '70s series where he hits a wrench over people's heads.
Well, they were in the 70s.
Yeah, but those people, this was the '90s. They all hopped up on drugs.
They were hopped up on drugs, wearing their grunge clothing, and listening to Nirvana. Um,
They were at punk rallies.
so, yeah, like I said, I would recommend it for sure.
It's a fantastic series. It's a great series. Go into it with a specific mindset, maybe. But yeah, no, I definitely recommend it. And I'm looking forward to the next retro review.
Yeah, me too. Where we're gonna watch something bad. We watched something good this time. We got to keep it alternating. All right. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Semi Pro. Whether you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, or Instagram, no matter where you're listening, want to thank you for listening to this. We will catch you on the next episode of Semi Pro.